Hello class, I'd like to talk about interactivity and navigation bars and then rollover images in Dreamweaver. So I'm going to give you a simple example starting in Photoshop and then slicing, exporting, and building this into Dreamweaver. So what I'm going to have here is just a really simple little menu. And this menu is going to have a rollover, meaning that when you move your mouse over each link, the appearance is going to change. So all I did so far was to pick a font that is nice and usable and something a little different than what you would be able to get with straight HTML and CSS. And I dropped that onto a new layer, put some spaces between, and then I'd probably take some time and work on what I want this little navigation bar to look like. So in this case, I'll just to make it look a little different, I'm gonna grab this effects button right here at the bottom, and you can't see this, but I'm gonna scroll down and choose just a drop shadow, and that doesn't look very good. So what I'll probably do is also add an outer glow. And the drop shadow, I'll drop it down a little bit so you can barely see it. So if you do anything that is a shadow effect or an outline, you just want to make it as subtle as you can. You know, you've seen sites like this probably. That is really pretty amateur. It's out of style. So if you drop it down a little bit, so it just gives it a little bit of dimension, so it jumps off the page a little bit, so it's not all flat. And then you can experiment with these, and see what you like. The outer glow helps a little bit, makes the text stand out. Okay, so I'll click OK, and let's say I like the way that looks. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and get each of these as separate images. So if you're going to do the interactive rollovers in Dreamweaver, each of these links should be a separate image. That's the easiest way to make that work for you. And put it into Dreamweaver. So I'm going to use the slice tool, which can be found underneath the crop tool. I am using CS6 with Photoshop. If you don't have this program, there are a lot of options out there for you. Basically what you're trying to do is get two separate images for each link. You're going to get the main link, and then you're going to get the rollover image. Slicing is just going to help you export quicker. Okay, so I'm going to grab the slice tool again. And then I'm just going to draw a box and just slice just like that. Okay, and this should automatically snap together. It doesn't have to be perfect because it'll all fit back together in Dreamweaver. Okay, it looks just like that. Okay, let's go ahead and export this. So I'm going to do a file, save for web. And this should be a GIF probably, so I'll change it to GIF. Click save. Format, images only, slices, all slices, and then choose your location. I'm going to put this in a folder called class sites, and I'll do a new folder called interactivity. Click create. Okay, and then title this, we'll just call this menu, and you'll see what happens here in a second. So interactivity, I'm going to call it menu, and click save. Okay, now before I leave, let's go ahead and create the rollover effect. So what I would do is duplicate this layer. So I've got the text layer. So I'll just simply right click on it, duplicate layer. Okay, and then I will take off the visibility of the one underneath it, so I don't see that at all. Of course, it's been replaced. The one over top of it is the one you're going to see, so the visibility doesn't matter much. But for exporting purposes, we'll make sure it's off. And let's just change the color. So we're going to do just a really simple rollover. So let me highlight that, and I'll change it to something completely different just so we can see it. So, I can go in here, click OK, and see what that looks like. It looks fine. I may want to go back in and change the drop shadow again with the effects or the effect styles right here. And then I'll go into outer glow, maybe change that color so it stands out a little more, something dark here. Okay, so I changed the color or the blend mode to normal, and the color to a darker one. That really stands out. So looks a little funny, but we'll go ahead and leave it. Okay, and make sure that your layer is visible. Again, here's the first layer, rollover layer, here's the second. Now, you can actually allow Photoshop or have Photoshop write the rollover code for you, the JavaScript. I would not recommend that. I would recommend that you create your separate pieces like I'm showing you here, 2 separate images, and then go ahead and use Dreamweaver to insert the JavaScript code that's going to make it work. So I'll go ahead and go to File, Save for Web. Okay, GIF again, save that. Same location, and there is an images folder that was automatically created, so I'll call this menu over. And then go ahead and select that images folder, and then click Save. Okay, and I'll go ahead and hide Photoshop now, and let me come back to Dreamweaver. And let me do a simple, quickly a new site. So let's do Dreamweaver site and go ahead and define that. So we'll call this interactivity, and then choose the folder that we just created. Click choose and save. Okay, let me quickly do a new HTML file. Remember to choose HTML5. Do file save and save your home page. Now check out this images folder. I got 2 of them by mistake, so I could go back and change that. That'd be pretty easy to adjust. But I do have images that all of these images have been exported from Photoshop. So you'll see menu 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then you'll see our menu over, and then you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So again, double images folder. That's a mistake on my part, but that's easy to correct. Let me show you how to correct that really quickly. Let me bring the class sites folder here. Okay, and then we have the interactivity folder, images. Okay, so these images right here, what you need to do is just take them, and then you can do a copy. So I'll just do an Apple C, or you can do your edit copy, and then just drop them back in here, just like that. And then you can get rid of this folder, just trash it. So now you got them all in the same folder. Takes care of that mistake pretty quickly. Back to Dreamweaver, refresh, and now there's all your images. So where did all these images come from? Well, each slice became a separate image when we did a file save for web. And the ones that are just titled menu, those are the ones that go in first, and then the over, those are the rollovers. So let's put in 2 of them, and then you can kind of see how they work. Click somewhere to insert. You'd probably be inside of a division tag. So I'll do insert, image objects, and rollover image. Okay, you can name it if you want. That's for the code, the JavaScript file, or the code in your within your HTML. We'll just leave it as image 1. Browse for the original image. That would be menu 01. Okay, rollover image would be menu over 01. Pretty simple. Preload rollover image is good. Alt text, you would say something like home link, and leave the link off now unless you know it. If you know the link, for example, the home is always going to be index.html. You can type it in or browse for it. It's easy to put that in later though, so you don't have to. Click OK. Alright, and do a file save, and let's do a file preview in browser. We'll just use Chrome. And you can check out that simple rollover. That will add to your site. You know, if you don't go too crazy with it, it just helps with usability. Creates more of a sense of interactivity, something happening, you know, when you move your mouse over it. Let's drop in one more. So I'll hide that. Put your cursor right after the home. Insert, image objects, rollover image. Okay, image 2. Original image would be menu 02. Click open. Rollover image would be menu over 02. Click open. Alt text. News link. And we'll leave the link off for right now. Click OK. And there you go. If you do happen to get a little space between the two, you can always just single click, hit the left arrow, and then you can delete if there is an extra space in there. Okay, and if you wanted to put the link in later, all you have to do is single click on the image itself, and then you'll be able to put the link in right here down at the bottom in the properties. Do a file save and a file preview in browser. Again, and now you can see the nav bar starting to take shape. Now if you did have a menu that was vertical instead of horizontal, all you'd have to do is you could single click on news, hit the left arrow, and then hold shift key down and hit return, and then that'll put that right after one after another. Alignment is messed up because of the way I sliced it, but it wasn't designed for the vertical menu. So that's really it. That's all there is to it. Just to recap this really quickly, you're going to be creating your nav bars or your sites in Photoshop, like the look of them, a lot of different parts of them. Now you can use CSS instead of these links, instead of these image links if you want. There's no right way to do it. You know, if you decide that you want your menu to be a little more visually interesting, then you're going to be using images instead of the CSS probably. So I created the images in Photoshop, I sliced the images and saved for the web, and then I came back and created another layer, added my rollover effects, did the same thing. And that's how I was able to generate 10 separate images really quickly. And back in Dreamweaver, I simply put my cursor where I wanted the image to go, and I did the insert image objects and rollover image, and then choose the images. I did have that one little problem where Photoshop generated an images menu every time I save for the web. That's easily corrected. It's also, you can change it under the properties in Photoshop. And now you've got some simple rollover images. I always come back to the code also and see what's been written here. It writes a function, a little JavaScript, not too much script, but it is written up there in the head of your document. And then there's a little behavior written down here in the HTML. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope it's been informative, and it showed you how to insert rollover images using Photoshop and Dreamweaver.